The boys usually just call me Juanita.
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 It's Sunday morning on CBS, and here again is Charles Osgood.
With standout roles in movies like Love and Death in 1975, Diane Keaton has endeared herself to audiences everywhere, and still does so. Here's CBS Evening News anchor Katie Couric with our Sunday profile.
Oh, no. Is this the best they could offer? Oh, geez, I'd hope for something with at least decent features.
In the last 4 decades, Diane Keaton has played quirky, outsider, radical, harried, maternal, independent.
You're an incredibly complex woman.
I guess you could say I'm half saint, half whore.
Infusing every character with a lot of Diane Keaton.
You play very well.
Oh, yeah? So do you. Oh, God, what a dumb thing to say, right? I mean, you say it, you play well, and then right away, I have to say you play well. Oh.
Her Oscar-winning turn came in Annie Hall in 1977.
La-di-da, la-di-da, la-la, yeah.
I never said la-di-da in my life until he wrote it. But I was a person who couldn't complete a sentence, so he did get that right.
Welcome back to Daybreak.
And in her new movie, Morning Glory, she plays Colleen Peck, morning show anchor.
I still have standards, unfortunately for you.
Suppose I don't have standards?
Sure you do. When you got your pap smear on air, you wore a silk robe.
Okay!
Classy touch.
And we're back.
I mean, obviously, I want to emulate you.
Oh, yeah,
Give me a
sure.
chance.
I thought you were a good anchor.
You did?
I did.
How about, though, the way I delivered the lines, though? A little dicey, because, you know, I lead with my personality, Diane's personality, and I feel like it's okay for me to have the run-on, you know, in life, Diane. But you can't do that with what you do. You cannot.
So I don't have to worry about you
No, and you also have to
being
be
on my
brilliant.
heels?
No, I'm not. I can't do it.
Of course not, because the only thing she's really ever wanted to do is sing.
I wanted to sing. I thought I was going to be a singer. And I did everything I could to be a singer.
This is the dawning of the age of...
And sing she did, on Broadway no less, in the musical Hair. She was 22.
You know, singing. And,
Do you have a good voice, by the way?
Oh, yeah, it's great. No, of course not.
Well, it must be
But it was
pretty
good
good if you had fantasies
Oh,
of
I had
becoming a
tons of
singer.
fantasies. Oh, yeah, tons of fantasies. I did have a little solo, and my song was Black Boys Are Delicious. Black boys are delicious, chocolate-flavored treats, licorice lips like candy, keep my cocoa handy. Yeah, so that's what I sang. I don't think I'm going to get any jobs singing anytime soon. I'd like to. I still have aspirations.
Really?
Yeah. Do you think I have a chance?
I don't know, but I think being
Can
able
I
to
try
sing,
again?
Yeah,
Give
go
me
ahead.
a shot.
Yeah, knock yourself out, Diane. Go ahead.
No.
Somebody's watching.
Oh my God. Yeah, somewhere.
At the time, someone was watching. Woody Allen. Allen and Keaton would go on to form one of the great on-screen, off-screen partnerships of the 1970s. But first, Keaton would have to measure up, literally.
I had a huge crush on Woody right from the moment I saw him. I was auditioning for Play It Again, Sam, and he was 5'7". You know, he was a relatively short, he is a relatively short fellow. So they put his head in and they measured us. And I got the part because I wasn't taller than he was. So, you know, this is like the way it began. And he was hilarious.
Now come in me, I'm warning you. He gets it right between the eyes.
He'll do it. He'll do it. I've seen him shoot a nose.
And in Keaton, Woody Allen had found his foil.
Sucker. You don't realize that you've been dealing with one of the greatest minds you've ever seen.
Yeah, and his isn't so bad either.
Yeah.
Take 1973's Sleeper.
I just liked being his stupid sidekick. I loved it. He would say things like, you can't even do a joke. And he's right. So he was very smart about it. And he would like have me set up the joke for him. That's what I'm good at. Being the idiot.
Diane Keaton is the master of self-deprecation, but in truth, she's not unlike her character in Something's Gotta Give.
You're a tower of strength.
Oh. She's lived life on her own terms. She's always worked, never married, and didn't start a family until she turned 50.
You know, I'm a late developer.
Keaton says her mother, Dorothy, who died in 2008, encouraged her daughter to just be herself and go for it. It was unexpected guidance from a woman who represented domestic perfection.
My mother was Mrs. Los Angeles.
I know,
No,
and
you-
Mrs. Highland Park before
Well, yeah,
that,
we can't
right?
forget that. I mean, that's a very moving thing.
Your life is in such stark contrast to your mom's, who was sort of a domestic goddess, if you will.
She was the kind of mother who was the great enabler. And she was always supporting me, every single thing that I ever did. I mean, we were partners.
If Keaton's mom thought her eldest daughter ought to be in pictures, not everyone agreed.
I would always fail because they would always say to me, "You're too kooky." And so you don't get the part because you're too kooky.
Where
and
did they
then
get
to
that
be
idea?
Because I was a little off center. Oh, you're making fun. That's really not nice.
Just kidding.
Anyway, of course, just kidding.
Then in 1972, The Godfather happened.
Michael? That man over there is talking to himself.
I felt I was miscast.
This one time, I'll let you ask me about my affairs.
Well, when you watched that movie, or when you watched it initially, did you still feel that way?
There's the only thing I thought about when I saw me, not the movie. The movie is absolutely brilliant. Was the wig is horrible.
What was it like working with Al Pacino? Because you guys were involved in a
Obviously,
relationship.
Hello. No, not then.
Not then?
No, but I would have liked it. I'll be frank. I mean, he was beautiful and so talented, and oh my God, yeah, I had a big crush.
Things didn't heat up for them romantically until after The Godfather Part 2, but they proved to be two very different people.
Al
was more of a real actor, kind of really about acting, always. Al was the kind of guy that if you're around him, he'd read Shakespeare. Get it? Like he's doing The Merchant of Venice. I mean, hello? I couldn't stand doing anything like that ever.
Really?
Are you kidding? Night after night, doing a play? I'd rather, that's like my idea of hell.
Keaton appreciates the many chances movie making gives her. And Warren Beatty, another longtime love, taught her you can never do too many takes when they starred in the movie Reds nearly 30 years ago.
I don't know if you ever saw that train station scene, but we must have done that 64 times, and I only got it on the last take. So my feeling about a lot of takes is count me in, because maybe you're going to save me, you know?
What is your relationship like with these people now, Diana? You know, do they stay in your life? Do you have friendships with these guys?
Some. Woody is a friend. He's a friend. I saw him last night here in New York. I don't really see Al. I don't see Warren. But I have great memories of them, and it's fun to see Warren as a father and Al as well. Both people that you never thought of as parents are now parents.
And you, of course, are a mom now, too. You have two kids, Dexter and Duke, right?
Right.
You adopted your first child when you were 50. What motivated you to do that at that point in your life?
Well, it had a lot to do with my father's passing. Because I think, quite frankly, that I liked being a daughter. I really enjoyed being a daughter. I don't think I wanted to be somebody who could take those, parenthood on until I had to accept that I had to move on.
Why do you think you never got married?
I think that the reason I didn't get married was because I would have to compromise too much. I think I took my cue from my mother there. I didn't want to have that. I wanted to try more adventurous things for myself, and I think that I didn't know how, and I was also afraid of men.
Really?
Oh yeah. I was afraid of men, yes. I was always being turned down or overlooked, and I saw myself as kind of a victim in that area. Yeah, it was hard for me to kind of compromise. I think I wasn't really marriage material.
Do you regret that?
Yeah, in some ways I do.
Today, at 64, Diane Keaton's life is full of work, family, friends, all lovingly draped in her nonstop stream of consciousness and her own inimitable charm.
You still seem to have that insecurity thing and unsure of yourself.
Yeah, it's in there. It's the DNA. But I'm going to fight it. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to try as many things as I possibly can, except for flying. I don't want to fly. I talk to the pilots. They all look at me like I'm crazy. But I think they're crazy. So how do you like that? I don't want to fly. I want to be adventurous, but I don't want to fly.
Are you okay?
No, I'm obviously not. I think I need to sleep. Somebody's got to put me down. Put her down.
I know you're going.
Go ahead.
Clint Eastwood started out in Italian-made westerns, like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, playing the man with no name.
Old spaghetti westerns.
Almost didn't say anything.
Did 3 of those. It wasn't necessary to say anything. They were all a visual experience.
But these days, both the man and the name are among the most recognizable in the world. He's made nearly 60 films in 50 years. From shoot-'em-up crime dramas.
Go ahead. Make my day.
And orangutan comedies.
Bang!
To romance.
It doesn't matter where you are.
To character-driven dramas.
Is that my daughter?
And he has directed 25 of them, beginning with Play Misty for Me.
It's the great Errol Garner classic, Misty. And this one is especially for Evelyn.
If I take you on,
I promise I'll work so hard.
you don't question me.
With the release of his latest movie, $1 Million Baby, this former B-movie star and sometime director is being lauded as a master of American cinema. This movie, $1 Million Baby, has been nominated for 7 Oscars. Do you think this is your best work so far?
You know, Leslie, I don't think it's up to me to know. I'm always trying to do a good job. Yeah, I think I'm doing my best work right now. I don't train girls.
Maybe you should. People see me fight, say I'm pretty tough.
At 74, Eastwood is not just doing his best work, he's doing most of the work. He stars in $1 Million Baby, but he's also directed it, produced it, and even composed its score.
Problem is, this is the only thing I ever felt good doing.
Your reputation as a director is that you're very quiet on the set, that you bring the movie in under budget and ahead of time, which is for the most part unheard of.
Yeah.
I heard that you shot $1 Million Baby in 38 days?
39, it was 37 days.
37 days?
37.
Oh, excuse me. How do you direct yourself? Do you divide yourself into 2 people? It's just such a, it seems so impossible.
You just divide yourself into 2 people, yeah.
What if Clint, the actor, needs a rehearsal and Clint, the director, says, I'm not going to rehearse you, Clint. I'm sorry.
No, obviously there's a certain cooperation between the 2 people.
If I'm too old for this, then I got nothing.
$1 Million Baby is about the relationship between a woman determined to become a prize fighter.
I seen you looking at me.
Yeah, out of pity.
Don't you say that.
Played by Hilary Swank, and her jaded trainer, Eastwood. It was a movie the studio, Warner Brothers, did not want to make.
They saw it as a boxing movie, and I saw it as a love story.
Well, which is it?
And it's a love story. It's a father-daughter love story, and it's about hopes and dreams, and it's about people and the fragility of life, if there is such an expression.
Fragility of life? Who'd have thought you'd hear such a thing from the guy who played
Sit down.
Dirty Harry, hard-as-nails Inspector Harry Callahan, Eastwood's most famous role.
You know, I'm sitting here listening to you, and I'm thinking, Dirty Harry has become sensitive.
Well, I don't think he was insensitive then. I think Dirty Harry was probably sensitive towards the victims of violent crime.
Harry as a sensitive guy? I wasn't buying it. So I asked Clint to recite Harry's lines when he's about to blow some bad guy's head off.
I know what you're thinking. Did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Well, being this is the .44 Magnum, most powerful handgun in the world.
I will blow your head clean off.
You have to ask yourself one question.
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Well, do you?
Eastwood feels a need to defend Harry, who was seen as the emblem of Hollywood's most violent movies.
He felt that technicalities of the law were running the system, which in 1971, that was kind of the feeling people were getting.
Well, he was kind of the hero. I mean, the hero in the sense that he was fighting our battles.
Yeah, the citizen, average citizen liked it. Sociologists were disturbed by him. Lighten up. It's just a detective story. It's just one point of view.
But in 1992, Eastwood directed and starred in Unforgiven, a kind of anti-Western with no clear black hat or white hat. Unforgiven won 4 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director. And after nearly 40 years in the business, Eastwood was in a whole new filmmaking stratosphere.
So much of your career was spent playing, you know, that squinter with the kind of sneer, and you're nothing like that. Where did that guy come from?
Well, it's much more fun to play something you're nothing like than what you are. So it's much easier to hide yourself in a character.
And hide himself in his hardened characters he did. Clint Eastwood grew up in Northern California during the Great Depression. His father, Clinton Eastwood Sr., moved his family from town to town to get work.
So what kind of a kid were you?
I was kind of a backward kid. I didn't get into plays. I didn't want to be an actor. I didn't want to stand up in front of any audience at all. That was the least thing I'd ever want to be involved with. I liked playing the piano and playing.
Eastwood found a certain comfort at the piano, one thing his family always took with them. His mother, who is 96 years old, nurtured her son's love of music.
When I was 11 years old, I used to imitate records and try to bang them out on the piano. And I drove my mother crazy, I think, because I'd be sitting there working a riff over 20 times in a row.
To stop and hear what I say.
You actually sang in a movie. Most people probably don't remember this. Didn't you burst out into full throttle singing in Paint Your Wagon?
But suddenly my words reach someone else's ear.
Well, I didn't burst out into it. I sang in that picture the way I thought the character would sing.
He doesn't sing too often, but he has composed songs for 10 of his movies. And now his 36-year-old son Kyle writes songs for his father's films, too. Kyle, who acted alongside his dad in Honky Tonk Man, isn't the only one of Clint's children to appear in his films.
Your daughter Allison was in Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Yeah, and she was in Tightrope years ago when she was a young girl. She played my daughter.
Daughter Francesca was in the 1999 film True Crime, and daughter Kimber was in Absolute Power in 1997.
You do this. You put your kids in.
Once in a while, if they're right for the part and they really want to do it.
Are you a grandfather?
Yes, I am.
Oh my.
Yep, just call me Gramps.
Okay, Gramps. Well, you're pretty good shape.
Left, okay. Left uppercut.
He used to work out strenuously every day.
You were doing 1,000 push-ups and 10,000 sit-ups and 300,000, I don't know. Do you still work out like that?
No, and the 10,000 might be slightly exaggerated.
Slight exaggeration.
But yeah, I still do. I still work out on a daily basis. And I like it. $1 Million Baby was great because we had a gym. Everybody at noontime would see who could do the most dips on the dip bar, you know.
How'd you do?
I did the most, and at 74, I could still do 30 of them, so that wasn't too bad.
Niro, where's my barmy?
Today, he's married to Dina Ruiz, a former television reporter who's 35 years younger than he is. They have an 8-year-old daughter, Morgan, who appears in a scene with Hilary Swank in $1 Million Baby.
And she liked that?
Yeah, I think she liked it. Whenever it comes on, she hides her eyes. You know, she can't watch it.
Maybe she has some of your shyness.
Could be, but I know I don't see it in any other areas.
60-40.
Good. We'll take 60. You take 40, being as Maggie's the big draw.
Eastwood is up for a Best Actor Oscar in $1 Million Baby, an award he has never won. With the film also up for Best Picture, he's heading into this month's Academy Awards with, shall we say, cautious optimism.
How much do you want to win?
I don't know. You know, you just go there, hope you hope it works your way.
When do you think you'll start casting Iwo Jima?
You know, I don't know when I'll start.
Meanwhile, he's already working on his next film about soldiers at the Battle of Iwo Jima.
Will it be an anti-war movie? Anti-war.
It won't be necessarily a propaganda war. It's a great movie, that's for sure.
He's going to direct it, and as of now, he says he won't appear in the film. But that doesn't mean $1 Million Baby is the last you'll see of Clint Eastwood, the actor.
I was very, very satisfied being in back of the camera, watching the younger people up in front. And then all of a sudden this came along and there was a good role for me, so I jumped into it. So I had to unretire before I retired. I didn't want to do one of those Frank Sinatra retirements where you retire and then 6 months later you're back out again.
Yeah, but you have.
But I've done it.
So you're going to announce a retirement again, or you're just going to see what happens?
I'm just never going to say never or never say anything. That's the main thing, is just keep my big mouth shut.
Of course, there's not much mystery about where Robert Redford found the name for this 6,000-acre retreat high in the mountains of Utah.
What was hard about it was a pretty tough name to beat. And I tried all kinds of other names, and finally I thought, you have to give in to the fact that it's just a great name.
Raindrops keep falling on my head.
Well, that ought to do it.
The 1969 film, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, is considered a classic.
Think you used enough dynamite there, Butch?
With Redford, of course, as Sundance, and Paul Newman as Butch Cassidy.
What's the matter with you? I can't swim!
A pair of lovable outlaws. But not many people know that Redford almost didn't get the part.
I read some story that at one point they talked about teaming Marlon Brando with Paul Newman in that movie.
Oh God, I think everybody. I think I was so much the last choice. I think they tried.
Way.
I was. They tried everything to keep me out of the picture because I wasn't known compared to Paul.
His role as the Sundance Kid changed all that. Redford, who'd grown up in California, then went to Europe to study art and kind of fell into acting, was suddenly a big star, and life became very different.
Suddenly you realize that you were being treated like an object, and the danger to your psyche was that if you didn't pay attention and you didn't stay clear, you would begin to behave like one. And if you did that too long, you might end up becoming one, So I thought, you better look out for that.
He made some calculated choices, while he continued to star in mainstream movies like The Way We Were.
How do you do, old sport? I'm Gatsby.
And The Great Gatsby. There were also smaller films, like Downhill Racer and The Candidate. And it was Redford who personally pushed to get All the President's Men made, where he and Dustin Hoffman play investigative reporters Bob Woodward and Carl
There
Bernstein.
is no way the White House can control the investigation.
It took 4 years. Yeah. And the studio didn't. They said politics. I don't think so. You know, Watergate is a dead issue, and I said it's not. It's a detective story about investigative journalism and about the American trait of hard work. And hard work led to something that spared us the loss of our First Amendment. That to me is worth making. I picked a spot that I thought was special.
Redford's experience with those hard-to-make films and his love of this dramatic Utah landscape led him to one of his most important off-screen roles, founding the Sundance Institute to help young filmmakers develop their craft.
So it finally occurred to me when I started the Institute and I watched how artists were here, and I thought this is this is it, is a place for artists and the environment.
Roll camera.
This year, the Sundance Institute celebrates its 25th anniversary. A quarter of a century of workshops where acting, directing,
Action.
screenwriting, and editing are all honed.
Hi, Bob. Hi, how are you?
The money comes from Redford himself, as well as fundraising and grants. The idea is to help nurture smaller, so-called independent films, which big studios ignored for years.
Well, there's that one scene that I don't want to...
Hollywood personalities like Christine Lottie, who first came here for an acting workshop, return to coach newcomers.
Are you aware of his interest in you, his more amorous interest in you? My specialty is helping these young directors learn a vocabulary to talk to their actors. And being an actor myself and having directed, I know a lot about it.
Like most pros who donate their time here, she does it in part because of Robert Redford.
He has nurtured independent filmmaking like no one else. He's really put his money where his mouth is, and I have a huge amount of respect for him.
And you're on the phone, you got the phone to your ear because she's talking to you.
Victoria Mahoney says that being one of 8 chosen from 3,000 applicants to participate in the director's workshop will make it easier for her to raise the money she needs to make her movie.
I think the film will be made sooner. Maybe it won't take 10 more years to get a whisper in someone's ear, to get a phone call returned.
Several successful movies got made after being worked on at the Institute, including Reservoir Dogs and Boys Don't Cry.
What do you usually talk about on
Sex.
Wednesdays? Okay.
And other independent films like Sex, Lies, and Videotape and Little Miss Sunshine had been launched at an offshoot of the Sundance Institute, the Sundance Film Festival.
It is a lot of fun. You got to say that.
Is it really? Are
Yeah,
you
the
having a good time?
atmosphere is fun.
You're
Yeah,
not
I'm-
bored now?
Bored? Who could be bored? The film festival, which actually takes place in Park City, about an hour away from Sundance, was created by Redford to showcase independent feature films and documentaries.
When it first started, a lot of people weren't coming in to see the movies. How'd you get them to come and watch the movies?
I can't tell you everything I did. It's shameful. But when I used to really, a lot of people think I'm kidding, but we stand on the corner and tell people, you ought to go and see this movie.
Now it's become an international happening, a chance to party and to see celebrities.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, nice shuffle. Here we're shuffling.
Redford says the hoopla can be overwhelming, but it has not altered the original purpose of the festival.
And to say, look, we're into discovering these new voices and we're bringing their work to you. You decide whether you like it or not. But you have such a wide choice, it makes it an exciting place to be.
I think a certain number of people come out here because this festival has the Robert Redford cachet, whether you like to admit that or not. You've got to know that's true.
What do you think that is?
Kind of hip and cool. And,
Really?
Yeah,
I'm
really.
so pleased.
First time you've ever heard it, huh?
I heard it when I was younger, but it was always in the worst possible context when I was standing in a principal's office. Also, I like to ski.
You got it.
Hello.
Redford may try to play it down, but he is still very much the center of attention at the festival. And fledgling directors like Joseph Matthew credit him with drawing attention to their work.
Yeah, I would even call it like a miracle, you know? Like.
We rode with Matthew to the Sundance premiere of his documentary about immigration crossing Arizona.
And we just stand there and create a deterrence, you know, a line of people who say no mas.
What could grow out of being here and showing your film at the festival?
For me personally, I would hope that the next film will be a little bit easier to make, you know. Won't have to put everything on my credit card.
Indeed, having a film showcased at Sundance is a definite status symbol, something that Redford obviously relishes as he goes into his, dare we say, advanced years. You know, we've talked about this being a big year for Sundance, 25 years, big anniversary, but this is a big year for you too. You hit 70 years old. I can hardly believe.
I can't either.
Do you feel like you're 70 years old?
You just killed this interview. Yeah, no, I can't, honest to God. I'm not being falsely this or that. It's hard for me to, I can't get a hold of that. But
do you think that being involved in Sundance has had a toll on your own career?
it has, absolutely. It's set. Now, I've not been able to do as many films as I'd like to make because of a commitment to Sundance that grew larger than I imagined, and when you commit, you commit.
But Redford, who is divorced, the father of 3 grown children, and now a grandfather, still has plenty of star power. And he's got several new acting and directing projects going, including a film he's hoping to do with his old partner from both Butch Cassidy and The Sting.
You seem like you have had just a great life. Do you think you have?
Better than most. I've enjoyed it a lot. The good and the bad. It's all been a great education.
What do you think it is that pushes you? What makes you keep going?
It's the idea that if you can do more, you should.
You don't have to say anything and you don't have to do anything. Not a thing. Oh, maybe just whistle. You know how to whistle, don't you, Steve? You just put your lips together and blow.
When Lauren Bacall spoke those words in her very first film, To Have and Have Not, to co-star and future husband Humphrey Bogart, she sealed her future as a movie star and as half the romantic team of Bogey and Bacall, both on screen and off.
Do people still stop you on the street and say, do the whistle scene?
No, they don't stop me on the street and say that, but people have been known to say, just say that line once, you know. No. I had no idea that it would have that effect.
Yeah.
Even that the line would have that effect.
So you're not going to do that line for me right now?
No, are you kidding? You don't look like Bogart to me. No offense, you understand.
No offense taken. No offense taken, no.
Bacall and Bogart were together for 13 years, beginning when she was 19 and he was 45. She says he was the love of her life.
He was very apprehensive about the age difference, but didn't bother me. I thought we suited one another perfectly. He had every quality that I ever or never thought of before in any man.
What'd your mother think?
My mother was not so thrilled with him. What, he'd had 3 wives. Why would she be thrilled with him?
In fact, he was still married to his 3rd wife when he and Bacall met.
I was brought up to never have anything to do with married men. Of course, I didn't pay a lot of attention to that, did I?
He soon divorced, and Bogey and Bacall married in 1945. Audiences fell in love with how in love they were. So much so that even today, at age 80, Bacall is still, at least publicly, defined by that romance, even though it was some 60 years, and to Bacall, a lifetime ago.
Is that the only thing that my life has meant? I don't think so. You know, I just feel that I adored him and had a great life with him, and God knows, I finally have an identity of my own as well.
She reveals that identity in her 500-page, newly updated autobiography, By Myself and Then Some. It reads like a who's who in Hollywood, Washington, D.C., and on Broadway. It covers her meteoric rise to stardom, her movie star romances, and her continuing career on the stage and in movies. Still, nearly half the book is devoted to her devotion to Humphrey Bogart, who influenced much of her life, starting before they even met.
Growing up and going to the movies, was Humphrey Bogart your dream guy?
Never. For my 16th birthday, I think I was taken to see Casablanca at the Capitol Theater. And we came out, and I liked the movie very much. My aunt was just Bogart, her heart was beating so fast. She thought he was so divine. I said, please, not at all.
Soon, her opinion, her life living with her divorced mother in New York City, and even her name would all change. Back then, her name was still Betty, and she was desperate to be an actress.
My ambition was never to be in movies. It was always to be on stage.
But when a $10 modeling gig landed her on the cover of Harper's Bazaar, it was Hollywood director Howard Hawks who called, offering a screen test.
But I was a child. I was so young.
How old were you then?
17.
17?
It's understandable she was nervous, but Bacall managed to spin her fear into Hollywood gold.
Much has been said about the Bacall look. How would you describe that look?
It was an accident is how I would describe it, for one thing. I would always shake. I really was nervous. I was like this. And I found that the only way I could keep it still would be to just hold my head down and then look up. And that's how it kind of happened.
It became her trademark and led to roles as confident, saucy women in movies like The Big Sleep.
So you're a private detective? I didn't know they existed except in books, or else they were greasy little men snooping around hotel corridors.
As far as the world was concerned, Lauren Bacall was the sexy, tough-minded love interest of sexy, tough guy Humphrey Bogart. She says those labels were deceptive.
The minute you're in something that clicks, people connect you with that part, and in their minds, you become that person. And there is nothing you can do to dispel that. Bogart, the tough guy, he was not the tough guy. Had nothing to do with him.
In the 1950s, on screen, Bogey and Bacall went their separate ways. She to movies like How to Marry a Millionaire, co-starring Marilyn Monroe.
Well, here we are nearly 3 months and we can't even get ourselves engaged, much less married.
And Designing Woman with co-star Gregory Peck.
May I make a suggestion? Why don't you jump into a swimsuit and take a quick plunge?
May I make a suggestion?
What?
You take a plunge.
But off-screen, their marriage and home life seemed like a fairy tale romance.
Come over here, Steve. Oh, there you are.
And here's Leslie.
A fairy tale that was front and center when they sat down with Edward R. Murrow in 1954 on the CBS News show Person to Person.
I remember both of you are natives of New York. Do you miss this big town very much?
Yes.
Wait a minute.
But it wouldn't last. Humphrey Bogart died after a harrowing struggle with throat cancer in 1957. His wife, whom he always called Baby, was a widow at age 32.
It took me years and years and years to get over it, actually. I never got over it, actually. You don't ever get over those things.
Was work therapeutic, the kids therapeutic?
Oh, I think the work is always therapeutic. And with the children, of course, you are involved with them in a totally different way. But work is what makes you pretend that you're somebody else.
In the months following her husband's death, Bacall became romantically involved with Frank Sinatra, who had been a close friend of Bogey and Bacall. Soon, they were engaged, but in secret, and not for long.
He cut it off because someone told the press that you two were engaged?
Yes. And there on the sidewalk with the morning papers with the headlines, Sinatra and Bacall to marry. So that was the end of it.
Bacall says she had to get away from her life in California that now seemed empty without Bogart or Sinatra by her side. So she returned to New York City and Broadway. And in 1961, she fell in love again and married actor Jason Robards.
Jason was, tippling a little bit, shall we say?
I see.
Or a lot, shall we say?
I see.
Yeah.
Bacall says Robards' drinking was the culprit in the collapse of their 8-year marriage. During those years, they had a son, and now, some 40 years later, Bacall remembers the good.
We had really a lot in common, and we had a lot of marvelous times together, Jason and I. Except he had this terrible monkey on his back, and he couldn't get it off, and he tried, and I couldn't deal with it anymore.
So again, Lauren Bacall looked to work and found comfort and success on Broadway.
I love movies. I have not had a brilliant career, I would say, in many ways, but the theater has given me an opportunity to do things that I never would have been given an opportunity to do in movies. Those were great moments in my life.
Those moments include 2 Tony Awards for the musicals Applause and Woman of the Year. And she's found renewed success in movies. In 1996, she was nominated for her first and only Academy Award for The Mirror Has Two Faces.
Remember, today is my day. And if you don't behave yourself, I'm going to have your birth certificate blown up as a Christmas card.
I should have never encouraged you to speak.
I was thrilled that I got a nomination. My God, I never thought that would happen to me. Those alabaster hands of yours are hereby engaged to weed the wild gooseberry bushes.
She's still going strong. In 2003, she appeared in Dogville.
How do you know what you know?
And last year in Birth, both starring Nicole Kidman. She has 2 other movies coming out.
What a good idea.
And on a recent Wednesday night, we caught up with her celebrating her new book. Bacall may already be a legend, but she's still driven by that same moxie that brought her to Hollywood as a nervous teenager in the first place.
You're still working?
Yes, I work. I'm not stopping until I'm forced to.
There's something greater.
All in all, I would say I've been pretty damn lucky. It's hard when you have such great success when you're so young, because you obviously can never repeat it.
You say in the book great things happen to you on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Is that still the case?
I don't know. What day is today?
Today's Wednesday.
Well, let's hope so.
I know there's something better. I know there's something greater.
Robert De Niro doesn't grant many interviews. Let's face it, he doesn't have to. But on the rare occasion that he does, arguably one of the finest screen actors of his generation famously finds himself at a loss for words.
When people come up to you and describe you as a legend, how does that sit with you?
I don't know what to say to that. I mean, I'm flattered, but it's, well.
And there it is, a deflection born not out of arrogance, but out of a belief that he, Robert De Niro, was nothing more than...
I was lucky.
Lucky?
I'm lucky that I have whatever I have that makes me have a successful career, if you will.
It's got to be a little more than luck, because the amount of work that you would put into characters...
Well, then I'm lucky I have the drive to do the work, but you're always lucky.
Come on, Dad!
What are you so up about?
His latest run-in with luck is his role in Silver Linings Playbook, alongside Bradley Cooper.
No, you just up. I don't know what that is. Are you taking the proper dosage of your medication?
Am I taking the right dose? Of course I am.
De Niro plays Pat Solitano Sr., an obsessive-compulsive, die-hard Philadelphia Eagles fan who struggles to deal with his even more obsessive and mentally unstable son.
I want to do everything I can to help you get back on your feet. That's the whole point. Yeah.
It's a performance that's earned him his 7th Oscar nomination, De Niro's first in 21 years.
Does this one mean anything more just because it's been so long since you've gotten a nomination?
No, actually, I was surprised that it was so long. I can account for all the things and all the time and everything, but I can't. But there it is. It's like so many years ago.
It was 1981 when De Niro last took home an Oscar for his portrayal of the real-life world middleweight champion, Jake LaMotta, in Raging Bull.
Another left, a hard left hand to the jaw, and Reeves is down.
His dedication to the role was both emotional and physical. He went from this to this, gaining some 60 pounds.
What are you worried about? What's the biggest thing you got to worry about?
I'm worried about the weight.
You worried about the weight?
What are we arguing about for? I just said the weight.
That must have not been particularly comfortable.
It wasn't. The first 15, 20 is, and you eat and overindulge, to say the least. And then after that, it's just pure drudgery work.
How did you do it?
I just kept, we set a time of about 3 or 4 months. Whatever I could get to it, 4 months would be what it is. So that's what it was, 60 pounds.
It wasn't the first time he'd gone above and beyond for a role. In Taxi Driver, for which he was also nominated for Best Actor, he actually applied for and got a New York cabbie license to better understand his part.
So how much were you driving around in a cab?
I was driving around the city, all over.
Picking up people?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
He was so immersed in troubled Travis Bickle that when director Martin Scorsese told him to improvise this scene, the result became one of the most quoted movie lines of all time.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
You never know what you do that could be totally out of left field, which actually might work and give something fresh to the whole scene, to the character, whatever. If you have that with a director who then knows what to shape it in, either in the direction in the moment or in the editing, then that's good.
And do you
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
For his Oscar-winning role as the young Vito Corleone in The Godfather 2, De Niro took Marlon Brando's character one step further. He learned a Sicilian dialect. In the entire film, De Niro barely speaks a word of English.
How difficult was that?
Well, it's very difficult. I only learned the pieces that I had to for the scenes, because to learn those pieces and try and speak it with the proper accent, inflections, blah, 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 you have to practice a lot. It's just practice.
It all started in 1943, when he was born to parents Virginia Admiral and Robert De Niro Sr. in Greenwich Village, New York. Both were accomplished painters. His father, a figurative artist, had his works celebrated in galleries all across the country.
No, my father was an artist since he was, I think, 5. Well, he's very particular that they were hung right and put up right.
Dozens of his father's paintings adorn the walls of De Niro's restaurants in New York. He's even kept his father's art studio, the same as the day he died.
Yes, I have kept it. Yeah.
Pretty much exactly the way it was. Why is that?
Because I wanted the kids to know who their grandfather was. I just felt it was important.
He wants the world to know more about his father, too. He's currently working on this documentary, set to air later this year.
It was the real thing. All his work, I can't not but make sure that it's held up and remembered.
Unlike his father, De Niro Jr. never picked up a paintbrush. Instead, he focused on a canvas of a different sort, the silver screen.
You were imitating other actors to your mom when you were pretty young?
I'm not sure if I did that. I don't know. But my mother thought I was very funny. People say you're funny, so
from an early age?
Yeah.
The first thing that you did was what?
The Wizard of Oz, The Cowardly Lion, which is when I was 10.
Think about that for a moment. The man who brought us Al Capone in The Untouchables.
Where he breathes. I want you to find this Nancy boy Elliot Ness. I want him dead. I want his family dead.
And wise guy James Conway in Goodfellas.
Never rat on your friends, and always keep your mouth shut.
Started out as the cowardly lion. Maybe shy lion, though, is more apt.
I had read that getting up in front of people and performing was a tough thing at first.
It's not that easy for me, but you do it.
Were you shy?
Part of me is shy, I guess, you know. So, you know, the old story with actors, they're shy, and they get behind a character, they play, you know, there's truth to that.
He didn't only hide behind the heavy roles. De Niro eventually took his mom's advice and tried being funny.
You don't hear the word no very often, do you?
I hear it all the time, only it's more like, no, please, no, no.
He turned his mob boss persona on its head in Analyze This.
You know what I do when I'm mad, Paul? I hit a pillow. Just hit the pillow. See how you feel. Feel better?
Yeah, I do.
And he set the bar for a crazy father-in-law alongside Ben Stiller and the Fokker clan.
All right, now look, Fokker. I'm a patient man. That's what 19 months in a Vietnamese prison camp will do to you. But I will be watching you, studying your every move.
While they were a commercial success, some critics lamented that they were trivial roles beneath an actor of his stature.
That's fine. They can criticize whatever, and they could be right. I want to do those things. You can't please everybody all the time, or even part of the time.
He remains a busy man, investing in restaurants, a hotel, not to mention running the Tribeca Film Festival. But at the moment, there seems little that brings De Niro quite as much joy as his one-year-old daughter with his wife, Grace Hightower.
She's so adorable. You just look at her, and it's all there. There's nothing else matters.
Films still matter, though, and as he approaches his 70th birthday, there's plenty he still wants to do.
You said that you want to do, if you can, you'd like to do at least 2 more films with Martin Scorsese?
At least 2, make it an even number 10. That's my obsessive compulsiveness.
Or maybe that's just what he calls luck.
When you look back over your career, did you change anything? I mean, do you feel like you've...
I'm really okay. I have no complaints. Knock on wood, that's my little thing.
Robert De Niro's Lucky Charms have left legions of fans feeling charmed to have watched.
Well, I'll tell you one more thing. You got an all-out prize fight, you wait till the fight's over, one guy's left standing, and that's how you know